Okay, so the user JAY 10123456789112 that's claims that he's got the world figured out um, uh, in regards to fate versus free will. And one of the examples he uses is the dinosaurs. And if he says the possibility that the dinosaurs could have survived rather than gone extinct um, couldn't have happened because there's only one timeline to represent what has already happened. I agree with that. In regards to looking back to the past for things that have already happened, I agree that there is one timeline and that if something else had happened, then the original timeline wouldn't exist, so there would still only be one. When you look at the past, no matter what, there is always only one timeline. That's one of the points you made that I agree with. What I don't really agree with is the significance of having only one timeline because I'm not really claiming that there's more than one, but I do recognize the fact that there are many possibilities for future events. For instance, I can choose to go to school on Monday, or I can choose not to. The choice is mine. Nobody can force that choice on me. Maybe if they run me over with their car right before I go to school, maybe, but um, I mean, as far as my decision whether or not to attempt to go to school, nobody can really alter that. But if you once it's already happened, and you look back, you say, well, if you went to school, then that's what's happened, and nothing else could have happened because nothing else did happen. I mean, I can't really prove that wrong, but there's an infinite amount of possibilities for the future. Um, but whatever happens is the only thing that happens. Something else could have happened, but something else didn't happen. Whatever happened is the thing that happened and is the only thing that happened. And I'm not saying it's the only thing that could have happened, I'm saying it's the only thing that did happen. So, let's say I go to school tomorrow. The only thing that happened, whether when I'm talking about whether I went to school or didn't go to school, is I went to school. That's what happened. And if I choose not to go to school, what happened was I didn't go to school. That's what happened. But that doesn't render the possibility before I go to school for me to choose not to, or before I don't go to school for me to choose to. Nobody can predict that. Like a coin flip. You could say, well, it landed on heads, it didn't land on tails. In that point in the timeline, it had to land on heads. It was meant to land on heads because it did land on heads. I guess you couldn't really prove that wrong, but there was still a 50-50 chance that it would land on tails. So, saying things that have already happened couldn't have happened any other way, I guess, is a vague statement, and it's also a little bit insignificant. I mean, it doesn't really represent much. Um, I mean, so what? Big deal. Um, the future is unwritten. It's you say a lot of people claim that there is no future. There is a future. It just doesn't exist yet. Wait, let me rephrase that in a less confusing way. The future is unwritten because people can change their mind, people can make new decisions, um, and people make their decisions. So I haven't yet made the decision to go to school or not because I haven't gone to school or not. Once I start walking to school, I've made the decision to go to school. Um, I'm lost. So basically, the future is unwritten. There's not a predestiny. Free will exists. fate only applies for what has already happened, and you can't really make any other statement. You can't prove it wrong, even though the burden of evidence is on the person making the statement, not the person disclaiming the statement. So you can't really prove your theory, and I can't really prove it wrong, but it's just kind of a statement. I could say that there's a big monkey in the moon who controls everything, and you couldn't prove it wrong. Not ignoring the fact that it's an absurd statement and is extremely unlikely, you still couldn't prove it wrong. That's kind of how I view your statement. Alright. Enough said. Peace out. I'm going to put the link to my channel right here. Yeah. See ya.